The Old Testament book of Exodus was written by Moses. It is believed to have been written between 1450 and 1410 BC, before Christ. It was written to the people of Israel. The book of Exodus is the second book in the Old Testament records. Exodus begins where Genesis leaves off, as God deals with his chosen people, the Jews. It traces the events from the time Israel entered Egypt as guests of Joseph, who was powerful in Egypt, until they were eventually delivered from the cruel bondage of slavery into which they had been brought by a new king, which knew not Joseph. Pause for thought on the book of Exodus. Get up, leave, take off. These words are good ones for those trapped or enslaved. Some resist their marching orders, however, preferring present surroundings to a new, unknown environment. It's not easy to trade the comfortable security of the known for an uncertain future. But what if God gives us the order to move? Will we follow his lead? Exodus describes a series of God's calls and the responses of his people. 400 years had passed since Joseph moved his family to Egypt. These descendants of Abraham had now grown to over 2 million strong. To Egypt's new Pharaoh, these Hebrews were foreigners, and their numbers were frightening. Pharaoh decided to make them slaves so they wouldn't upset his balance of power. As it turned out, this was his biggest mistake, for God then came to the rescue of his people. Through a series of strange events, a Hebrew boy named Moses became a prince in Pharaoh's palace, and then an outcast in a desert land. God visited Moses in the mysterious flames of a burning bush, and after some discussions, Moses agreed to return to Egypt and lead God's people out of slavery. Pharaoh was confronted, and through a cycle of plagues and promises made and broken, Israel was torn from his grasp. It was no easy task to mobilize this mass of humanity, but they marched out of Egypt, through the Red Sea, and into the desert behind Moses and the pillars of cloud and fire. Despite continual evidence of God's love and power, the people moaned and complained and began to yearn for their days in Egypt. God provided for their physical and spiritual needs with food and a place to worship, but he also judged their disobedience and unbelief. Then in a dramatic Sinai meeting with Moses, God gave his laws for right living, the 10 Commandments. God led Moses and the nation of Israel, and he wants to lead us as well. I wonder, is he preparing you, like Moses, for a specific task? He will be with you. Obey and follow if he is. Is he seeking to deliver you from a temptation? If so, trust him and do what he says. Have you heard his clear moral direction? If you have a Bible, go to the book of Exodus. It's the second book in the Bible, the Old Testament. Is God calling you to true worship? Might you discover God's presence in your life, in your home? Exodus is the exciting story of God's guidance. Amen. Like the Israelites, we need both human and divine leadership to escape from the slavery of all that is not good in our world. After their escape, the memory of slavery helped the Israelites learn to treat each other generously and stand together against those who oppress others. Although God is all-powerful and can do miracles, He normally leads us by working through others and team efforts. His words give us the wisdom to make daily decisions and to govern our lives. Whoever you are, whatever your background, wherever you are on life's journey, faith, no faith, different faith, you are very welcome at our churches in this benefice. God love you. God bless you. Bye-bye.